to.
Minister, I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't ask you about Chidimma Adetshina and her 3-year-old son's case, in which they're taking you, the Director General, as well as the department, to the Western Cape High Court. That case said to be heard on the 28th of August. Your response, perhaps, to the allegations that Home Affairs violated their rights?
Well, I think the court will have to settle that matter. I don't want to get into a live court dispute. Of course, we as Home Affairs are opposing that case, and we are making our submissions through that particular process. But what I think is important to point out is that any allegation or perception that South Africa's immigration system does not work towards the rule of law is actually put to bed because people have the right to go to court. And I think the case demonstrates that we don't take arbitrary action. We don't deny anyone the right to go to court and have their day in court. But at the same time, we have a dispute here. We disagree. And the work that has been done by Home Affairs has resulted in the uncovering of some South African who had her identity stolen by the mother in this particular case, and then a series of other steps that have been effected precisely to enforce the rule of law without fear or favor. So I think it is important to say that the concept of someone being able to go to court precisely puts to bed the suggestion that South Africa somehow does not have these mechanisms in place, while at the same time we can have a clear dispute on the facts, and we certainly hope that the court will settle this matter so that we can move forward.
Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. So that was Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber on Newsroom Afrika responding for the first time since the ongoing deportation case involving Chidimma Adetshina in the Cape Town Regional Court, as well as her review application before the Cape Town High Court. In the High Court application, Chidimma Adetshina is asking the court to review and set aside certain decisions taken by Home Affairs. Those decisions that Chidimma Adetshina wants the court to review and set aside are the cancellation of her South African citizenship and identity documents, the cancellation of her minor son's South African citizenship and identity documents, and the decision to declare her a prohibited person, effectively banning her from obtaining any South African visa or permit. By the way, Newsroom Afrika also spoke to immigration lawyer Craig Smith a few days ago. Maybe I'm biased, but I felt like he broke down Chidimma Adetshina's cases against Home Affairs in both the Cape Town Regional Court and the Cape Town High Court very well. So if you just know that Chidimma Adetshina is fighting to be in South Africa, but you don't have the full details of what is going on, I think this particular immigration lawyer broke it down very well as to what is currently happening and what can possibly happen. Here's what he said.
What is the current status of Chidimma Adetshina's case before the Cape Town Court?
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. There are effectively two pieces of legislation in issue here. One is citizenship and the other one is the Immigration Act. Insofar as citizenship is concerned, Ms. Chidimma got her citizenship through her mother, who acquired her citizenship fraudulently. That's according to the department, and it appears on the facts it's probably a correct deduction. Following that, Ms. Chidimma's citizenship was revoked, and correctly so. And now, having made that decision by the department, she is entitled to review that decision. So effectively, that is before the High Court in the Western Cape. I don't really see an out in this regard. I can't see how they're going to succeed in turning that decision around, because it was predicated on fraud. Then you have the Immigration Act. So as a result of Ms. Chidimma having a fraudulent identification document, which would have been part and parcel of her Citizenship Act, Home Affairs declared her a prohibited person, which means that you are disqualified from any visa status in South Africa. That includes a visitor's visa. And on the facts, as far as I'm aware, she then entered the border through Mozambique into South Africa on a visitor's visa, which of course she's disqualified from having. She was then located and found in South Africa with her son, and she was arrested for the purposes of detention, or detained for the purposes of deportation. She was released, and now the matter is before the magistrate's court insofar as a deportation. The issue, though, is that the magistrate court has no power to issue a deportation order, and this has become the subject of a legal dispute. But the reality is the Act does not entitle a magistrate to issue an order of deportation.
Oh dear. Craig, talk to us about whether she can indeed claim citizenship by birth, because what we do know is that she was born here, and also because this Act was enforced after her birth.
Well, actually, the Citizenship Act came into place initially in 1949, and then it was consolidated as a Citizenship Act in 1995. Ms. Chidimma would be subject to the citizenship and or any amendments thereafter. It doesn't really make a material difference. The reality is she claims she was born in South Africa, in Soweto, and following that, together with the fact that her mother is a South African citizen, of course, that was the fraud. On the face of it, she claimed citizenship. And obviously, with the mother's citizenship being revoked, hers was also revoked. So she is no longer a citizen by birth, and that matter is before the High Court. She has, in fact, as I understand on the papers, attempt to argue that she's also entitled to citizenship by naturalization, by being in South Africa as a minor person through to 18, but I don't believe that's going to cut it. So she claimed she initially got her citizenship through birth. It was then determined that it was acquired fraudulently through her mother, and then her South African citizenship by birth was revoked, and now that is before the High Court.
True, it is in fact convoluted, as you said, Craig. So she's essentially trying to separate herself from her mother, who was in the country illegally, now we know. Can she do that? First, can she separate herself from her mother, arguing that she was born in the country? But also what happens to her son, her 3-year-old son? Because presumably the son was also born in South Africa. He may also claim citizenship.
Well, the minute you have a minor child in the mix, you start dealing with the Children's Act, you start dealing with the rights of children, Section 28 of the Constitution, not to be separated from the mother. This is largely a matter that this is the reason why she wasn't detained or released. I mean, that would be unconstitutional, certainly for a minor child. Remember, a minor child has no legal capacity and wouldn't know what's right or wrong. The reality is she perhaps was too opportunistic in trying to return to South Africa after being declared a prohibited person in 2024. I do believe that there was a solution. She could easily have challenged the decision to declare her a prohibited person, and I think that would have had some merit based on the fact that she would argue that she got her citizenship through being a minor and was not aware of it, and therefore, having been declared a prohibited person, they could lift that. Following that, she could have, which she did apparently, get a Nigerian passport, which she's entitled to. And that's also going to be a problem for her own citizenship claim or review in the court, because she aligned herself to Nigeria in the Miss Universe contest. But there would have been visa options for her to avail herself of when she was back in Nigeria with a Nigerian passport, including her son, where she could have applied for a visa that, for argument's sake, there's a visa category for those in film production, modeling, etc. And I'm assuming that she would have a pretty bright career in the modeling industry. And she could have acquired a three-year visa had she first contested her prohibited status, but I think she got a bit ahead of herself. That may be a problem for her.
Craig, talk to us about how then the South African law navigates the doctrine of statelessness, right? Particularly when an individual's birth citizenship in one country is invalidated while their ties to another nation are disputed.
Well, statelessness often comes, to protect especially minor children. And that is if you found yourself in the country and you have no ties to another country, you have no other nationality that you can present to the department. If that's the case, and you have no other nationality protecting you, then you can claim you're stateless. And now that's not the case because, of course, Ms. Chidimma took her Nigerian passport, represented Nigeria in Miss Universe. So there's no ways statelessness could come to her benefit.